Yeah, shit, I should have waited to the theme music. Oh, well, fuck it. Welcome, everyone. This is a morning version of Pandemonium Season 3. We're kicking it off here. I got I got Bob, your name, here in the room right now. Bob, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great today, man. It looks like it's gonna be a good week.
Yep, it's looking pretty decent. How long you been in the trucking game?
I've only been driving a truck for 9 years.
Mm.
I worked in a shop, did tool and die before that.
Yeah, the reason I asked,
I did a lot of.
uh,
Yeah, I guess yeah, I did tool and die, and I did prototype production.
uh, yeah, the reason I asked is
Uh,
because my dad's interested in truck driving and things like that. He actually listens to the truck driving radio station. You know, he gets the latest in all the news and stuff. You know, Sirius XM, all that.
oh yeah. I used to listen to that when I had XM, but I mean, yeah. Does he have a CDLA or does he need to go get one?
Mm, I'll let him know.
Yeah, because if he's gonna be a truck driver, depending on his age, if he doesn't have a CDLA, which A is for CDL is for commercial driver's license, and A is for air brakes.
Oh no, he's real old. He wanted to do it like when he was younger, but nah, he went into construction. He just have respect for the craft. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he could do a local if he wanted to kick back and just get a job that's not so hard. He could find um, do it like driving a small state truck with hydraulic brakes, and that license is easier to get, and he could drive local. So bigger trucking companies that when you first start out want you to drive over the road.
Yep.
So then depending on how much you want to pay for schooling, or if you know somebody's got a truck, like schooling will probably run you 5 grand, or it can cost you somebody's truck and you ride with them and take a test with them. You pay for their fuel and that. You probably spend maybe $1,000 by after you pay for the test, and everything. For me, I don't. I talk to the boss in the morning when I get loaded, and I talk to him. Sometimes it'll be a day or two before I talk to my boss at all. I'll just be driving for 2 days without talking to the owner or the boss or dispatchers or anybody. I mean, you get a little bit of shit from the road, inconsiderate drivers, but for the most part, it's still better than working in a shop and dealing with all that drama, working with other people.
Right. Let's see here. What's this clip? Mm, Single payer healthcare passes New York State Assembly. Hmm. This is interesting. They actually got single payer healthcare to pass in New York State.
What what's a single care?
Hang on, let me get the clip up here.
All right.
York as Medicare for All bill passes state assembly. The New York State Assembly is leading the way with the only kind of healthcare bill that will put people before profits. So here's what they say. The New York Health Act would afford all state residents access to comprehensive inpatient and outpatient care, primary and preventative care, prescription drugs, behavioral health services, laboratory testing, and rehabilitative care, as well as dental, vision, and hearing coverage. Wow. There would be no premiums, deductibles, or copays. The plan would be funded through progressively raised taxes, including a surcharge that would be split 80-20 between employers and employees. As Salon's Amanda Marcotte wrote earlier this month, the legislation's lead sponsor, Assemblyman Richard Gottfried, says almost all New Yorkers would pay less than they currently do because they would be able to replace their current plans with this more affordable state-based plan. Furthermore, Marcotte reported, Gerald Friedman, an economics professor at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, agreed. In 2015, he wrote an analysis of the proposed bill, and he concluded that a single-payer system would save money across the board by reducing healthcare spending. One advantage is that a single-payer plan will allow providers to economize on the cost of handling the billing and insurance-related expenses, Friedman argued. Previous incarnations of the bill have passed the lower chamber multiple times, only to not be picked up for consideration by the state Senate. This time it could be different. Now they.
So yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. It's basically they're putting people before the profit. They're reducing the spending by increasing the progressive taxation, and they're basically having it to where healthcare, at least out there, could be a universal right. So I think
that sounds good. I mean, but when they say people will pay less, I mean, like right now, I pay a week for healthcare, right? I got Blue Care Network. Now I know the company I work for, they pay, a couple $100 a week or whatever, but I only pay 60, every 2 weeks. So they pay like $400 or $500 a month or whatever it is for me. So how does that, when they say that's one thing I always worry about, when they say it's going to cost the people less. Well, it's only costing me $60 every 2 weeks now. How's it going to be less, right?
I think it's referring to lower and I think lower middle and working class people. Like I think they're going to be there's going to be less spending on behalf of like the people that can't really have access to it. I think it's more of a healthcare being a right sort of issue. Yeah. So we're just going to wait until it sort of unfolds. But according to what that professor said, the analyzation of it will indeed reduce spend for like the average person, more access to better healthcare, so they could they have their needs taken care of. They don't have to worry about getting cut off for pre-existing conditions and things like this.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
Hey Matthew, what's up? How you doing?
What's up?
Hey, how's it going, Matthew?
What are you guys talking about?
We were talking about this healthcare, this single payer healthcare bill that was passed the New York State Assembly.
I haven't heard of that. What's it entail?
Let me see. Let me put the link in here in a side chat just so y'all know it.
Yeah. So basically, it's like Medicaid. My daughter, who's 22, has Medicaid, and I was going to put her on my insurance, but it's actually better for her to be on the Medicaid. It doesn't cost her anything, and she gets the free dental and free optical also, which on my plan there is no dental or optical.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's just like what it says in the article. Like the plan as it entails, it'll allow providers to economize on the cost of handling the billing and insurance related expenses. So it's a little bit better. It's more beneficial for the people who are actually getting the treatment. They don't have to worry about being neglected or having to worry about premiums or deductibles or copays, any of that stuff. They'll have the progressively raised taxes, like between the employers and the employees. That'll allow for the split to be sort of equal in that regard, so they ain't got to worry about it.
So one person in the household basically pays for their whole family in a way?
It's basically sort of like healthcare is a right. They ain't gotta They don't really have to worry about it. They can get insured and stuff like that. They have the access to the comprehensive inpatient and outpatient care.
Yeah, I think America, we should have been that. We should have been had health care with all the taxes people pay. You know, you just raise the taxes, man, and pay for medical stuff for people. It'll been. We should have been had free health care.
I mean, the weirdest thing about it is that we're like one of the few wealthy nations that actually still argues this, if not the only one.
Because we're in debt, I think. If I'm not mistaken. We're don't we owe China like trillions of dollars?
It's something like that, but I don't think that really affects like the healthcare system in a significant way.
And how do we owe China that much money, Wolf? Do you know? I know the people didn't ask for anything from China, did we?
No, I think that's more of economic dealings and sort of that's like the results of like decades.
Mm, trade and stuff. Res- uh, Trade of resources.
We just lost Wolf.
Uh,
We're stealing his hangout. Matthew sniped him out of his
it's
own hangout.
yeah, sniped them out.
Uh,
Up comes the porn video.
yeah, it's a damn Starbucks connection he's got there.
Yeah,
I'm back.
but yeah, Wolf. I was asking. Well, it's about. Was it about resources and just trade that got us into debt with China?
I think, to my understanding, it was like borrowing money and
Mhm.
just not giving it back on time. Not paying it back on time.
That's weird. Hold up, I'll be right back.
But it's just post Cold War nonsense. It's not really. I mean, it is
Yeah.
of significance, but
I wonder. I was back to the healthcare. I was wondering how the New York healthcare was different than the Obamacare. Was it better or worse, or money wise? You know,
it's sort of part of the Medicare for all idea in that what the act uh, entails is that it'll afford all state residents access to comprehensive care, primary and preventative care, prescription drugs, behavioral health services, testing, all that, without being able to worry about not paying it for the common person. You know, so it's sort of like universal health care almost.
well, if it works out really good in New York, then I wonder if other states will adopt it. I mean, because I know what Trump was trying to make some other different one.
Yeah, he was
I don't,
basically like Obama. It was basically Obamacare light in that it would still be Obamacare, but the tax credits for like middle and working class people would be removed, and it would be a huge saving for like the richest 1%. Meanwhile, people will be taken off of Medicare. People wouldn't be able to be insured. They could be cut for pre-existing conditions, all that.
Trump's going to make America great again by benefiting the rich. There we go. Yeah, we
Hmm.
do need health. We do need the free health care. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree that we do need that. We need to join the rest of the civilized like nations, the modern world that have uh, universal health care as a right for people.
And I think if you had the health care where people would be able to go in for doctor visits and more, we'd actually probably cut down on the obesity in America. because they'd be able to get better diet plans and everything else, and exercise plans and stuff like that. Because people need something to follow, right? Because that's part of my problem, trying to figure out a plan to follow and which foods, without trying to spend, months and months and looking at this page and that page on what's wise for you. If I had a physician where I could just go in for free and tell me, hey, you need to do this and need to do that, I think that would benefit. That would
Let's
cut
not
down.
let's never mind. That sound like some damn communism. We ain't having that in America.
That would definitely cut down on long-term bills for people having to pay because of medical problems because of obesity or anything else. I gotta go through a toll booth. I'm gonna mute for a minute.
All right, I'm gonna play another clip. Okay, Rick Joyner says martial law must be declared if Trump is forced from office. Uh, anyway.
I have no doubt that God put Trump in there and he's got a job for him to do. And I think a lot of this stuff that's surfacing is going to help him do his job. And the way it's going to help him, it's illuminating where people are. And it's making the left look crazier and crazier. And like they're just totally had a meltdown and they've gone off their rockers. And the media's looking the same way. They're continuing to lose credibility. No one seems to pay any attention. Every time somebody attacks Trump, they end up losing, not Trump. He ends up winning every time. There's a favor on him. It's not just Trump and his brilliance. He's an ordained man who has a purpose, ordained with a purpose. And I believe.
Yeah, this guy has really drank the Kool-Aid. Like, goddamn. Trump is genius. Anybody who criticizes him loses. All right. Yeah, welcome back, Bob.
Yeah, I pushed the wrong button.
Yeah, I was wondering where you went. I'm like, damn.
I'm trying to watch the traffic pulling up to that toll booth, and instead of hitting the mute, I hit the disconnect. So
All
what I
right,
missed.
cool. Yeah, I was just listening to this preacher guy talking about martial law must be declared if Trump is forced from office. Let me just go back and play it.
He's an ordained man who has a purpose, ordained with a purpose. And I believe he has divine protection in some ways. But God lets all of this stuff surface so we can see where it is. But I've been asked a lot, do I think we're going to end up in some kind of civil war or whatever? And I don't want to shock you, but I've said things like that for many years of where I thought we were heading. And where one day, I have no doubt whatsoever, we're going to be under martial law in America. I was shown that. I have no doubt it's going to happen at some time, but I believe it depends on us whether the marshal is a good guy or a bad guy.
I mean, he's just making assertions. I don't know, where's his proof or demonstration that that's going to happen? I don't. I'm not seeing any rationale behind that. It just seems to be a result of paranoia rather than some actual facts or something.
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, you could piece that together if from listening to YouTube, but listening to the everyday news and talking to friends and family, I haven't heard anything like that at all, right? So
I mean, it's kind of ridiculous because they've been claiming that for years with Obama in office. Like, oh, we're gonna be in martial law any day now. We're gonna be under totalitarian rule, and it just never happened. I mean, it just seems like it's fear mongering. Like that's what it seems like to me. I think that's the text that he's trying to impose on there. Oh, Trump's so great because he's an ordained man. He panders to Christians, and if you don't support him, martial law is going to happen. It's just a fear mongering. Fear mongering. It's not really substantive. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Either that or the guy's afraid. The guy knows Trump's way he keeps screwing up and doing things that Trump's might be impeached on his way out, and he's trying to scare people into, it's like heaven or hell type deal. Hey,
Yeah,
if you don't back this guy, we're gonna end up in martial law hell.
right.
We get a good marshal under martial law. I think it's gonna. It looks like it's gonna take that to get this train back on the rails. I'm talking about, have we been derailed from the connections with our Constitution? Now, I'm not saying that for shock value, but I think there's a lot of ways that things are surfacing that, if the left, let's just say they were able to overthrow a legally elected president, it would be unbelievable, I think, what would happen in America.
I mean, I wouldn't say it would be unbelievable. I mean, we know what would occur if Trump left office. Mike Pence would take the reins, and it would go like that. I mean, we would have some repression in terms of our progress. We probably wouldn't do jack shit when it came to science or education or anything like that. Probably have certain individual freedoms like imposed against, but it's not really surprising what will happen. It's not like the world's gonna end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a matter of
Well, I don't think.
paranoia.
Yeah, I don't think they can They're going to overthrow him. They'll impeach him, but they're not going to overthrow him.
Yeah.
I mean, what does he mean by overthrow? Right? You can have our militia, lock him up in jail somehow.
I think martial law would have to step in. Like him or not, and Trump, is never going to win a popularity contest. He's not that kind of leader. But like him or not, like it or not, he was constitutionally elected. And those who are trying to overthrow his presidency by all of these devices and lies that they're putting out, the media and everyone, this is sedition.
Sedition.
Yeah.
I don't believe I've heard of that word.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was constitutionally elected, right? But he lost the popular vote.
Yeah.
But he got the electoral. So actually, more people in this country wanted Clinton. The majority of people, it wasn't by much, but the majority of people actually wanted Clinton in office.
I'm not saying I liked Hillary, but at the same time, I doubt we would have seen this much nonsense over it.
Yeah, I mean, they were both bad. Neither one of them should have been put forth to run this country at all, right? I mean, out of there's 300 million people in America, right? They couldn't have found two better people.
Mm-hmm. At least someone tolerable. All right, let's see. Vigilant Vision.
Let's suppose.
Star whacking, what the hell? Spiritual technology to open portals. What the fuck?
Are you talking about CERN again?
I think.
Now, where did I put that rate for me?
They're making an Captain Underpants movie. Crazy. All right, we got the Crystal Vision. Apparently, he's got this. Fuck this. This is. Okay. So we're gonna play this, and then I got another one for you. But let's just hear this shit.
All right, hey everyone, it's TVC Mario, and you're here for, well, now this Sunday, a show with my brother in the Lord, Josh Peck, from the Sharpening Report. And welcome, Faith family. It's great to see all the chat.
Hey, Bob, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm just gonna.
I got a new truck. I switched trucks. I got a different truck, and I can't hook up my antenna booster because the cigarette lighter is not working. So and then I'm getting into Pennsylvania, so I might come in and out a little bit.
But anyway, they're talking about his buddy's gonna Matthew jump or something. Whatever.
Well, thank you. Blast. I've been looking forward to this for a couple weeks now. Unfortunately, we meet last week, but it was for a good reason. My wife and I bought our first house, and that's actually part of the background that you see behind me. I'm in the basement now. I'm going to set up kind of a little studio down here. But so blessings all around.
Discontinue dialogue. I'm skipping.
Familiar with, and I don't mean that there probably is secret stuff. I'm not even a complete novice to this. Don't know how the all technology has gotten this far, and most people aren't aware of it, because usually when people hear the word quantum physics or that term, and I used to be one of these, it's kind of a scary term. You know, it's like, oh well, you know, I'm going to stay away from that because only geniuses can understand it. You know, you got to have a PhD to even get close. I'm here to tell you all of that is it's garbage. You don't have to be a total genius to understand the basics of this stuff. It's readily available to everybody, because what science is, when interpreted correctly, it's the study of God's creation. That's what it is. And quantum physics is the study of.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
No.
I don't think I could. Well, a couple of things. Let's deal with it in reverse order. From start to finish. Okay, first off, science is not the study of God's creation. Science doesn't take that presupposition. It really just says that it's agnostic on those things. It has no way to test or observe the supernatural anyway. So they sort of limit it to natural explanations that can be accounted for by some evidence or some rationale behind it, you know. And for quantum physics, well, I mean, it is somewhat true that if you read or study like enough, you could probably get some basic idea. But the discipline in general, like the real field, like that's a whole different topic altogether. Like Richard Feynman says, like even if you think you understand quantum mechanics, you really don't. Because when you're talking about like the quantum world, the world of particles, like it's on a probabilistic basis. It's not deterministic. It's not like what you would get in like like regular general physics. So you know you got to be careful when you make broad proclamations or generalizations like that. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, I've heard that too. That saying before. Once you think you understand it, you have no understanding of it at all. So, and but with the God's creation, that's great. If you want to label it that, that's fine, right? Um, so science, yeah, science doesn't label that. Science just what calls it, the study of the physical world around us, right? Well, the natural world. If I'm sure if there was a way, they could study God, and if there was, they do it. So it's not like they're trying to avoid studying God or calling it God's creation. They just don't see any reason to call it that because there's nothing that leads them down that path. So that's just kind of a big bold assertion to say that's the study of God's creation.
Well, I got real a lot with CERN, but the reason again that this is so important for Christians is because
If I turn my camera,
because just understand this, the layman people were time to try to figure out.
Scientific community tells you genius to understand how it works. For the most part, normal people like basic laymen who haven't really looked into scientific literature and stuff like that wouldn't honestly wouldn't know a damn thing about physics. Like, yeah, most people would be uninformed, and for the most part, if it's not part of their direct field, probably would be interested in quantum physics. But to say that it's like it's a part of God's creation or that fucking wonky connection. Anyway, jeez, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah,
well,
yeah.
just to say quantum physics was part of God's creation.
Yeah. To say that's part of God's creation and like it's some and like the science is some secret club keeping laymen out of it. I mean, it's just that's just far fetched. That doesn't make any sense. That's not actually what's going on. It's just these people, these scientists, they're doing research in this stuff, and it's still uncharted territory. It's not like they have a theory of everything that explains all this stuff. So yeah, they're doing the best they can with these inventions and these technological breakthroughs, trying to figure out how this matter works.
Right or
Yeah,
wrong
exactly. I mean,
doing it.
Go ahead.
I gotta say exactly. I said, yeah. I mean, if they had a way to test for the supernatural, then it wouldn't be supernatural anymore. It'd be natural, right?
Yeah. That is a good point.
And if we should even have a say in it. And if for nothing else, I mean, spiritually we should have a say in it, but even if for nothing else, our tax dollars go to these causes. So we should at least know what our money is being spent for. So to start us off, I did a lot of this in a presentation, and we can talk about first how science doesn't really have to be intimidating or scary. I'm going to be switching back and forth between some slides and and myself, so people will see like a little bit of my desktop here. But let's see, people are kind of put off by science because a lot of the terms that they use.
Okay. How am I gonna do this? I'm gonna screen share real quick. Okay. Okay, so they got introduction to false science. Science does not have to be intimidating or scary. I don't know where he gets that from. Even scientists are fooled by their own experiments. I don't I don't know what the hell he's talking about, but okay.
They use a lot of big words, and they really don't have to. I'm not going to be doing that. So I'm here to prove that you don't have to. But
Holy shit. It uses a lot of big words, and it doesn't have to. That's what science does.
Yeah. They have to, right? I mean, when they start naming things and procedures, they have to use, and they're not really big words. They get them from the Greek, right? So they're not just making words up out of the air. I mean, the words have meanings.
I mean, it's not even that. You want to make sure that what you're describing is explained in such a way that that the phenomenon can be broken down into terms that could actually define what we're looking at, what we're observing, what is being examined. Yeah.
But look at this article.
And I'll just interject. I'm one of those guys that's like, science just doesn't work for me. So Josh is more of a brother who loves this kind of stuff, and I'm sure in school you did well. I was the guy that was like, man, can I just scrape by in mathematics and science?
Oh man, in school I was the same way. Because in school it's almost being forced on you. You don't have time to develop any kind of real passion for any of this stuff because you have to take a test. You don't get to want to know it. You have to know it, and that's so. I was the same way. I did terrible in science. I did even worse in math. I didn't start except.
I don't think it's changed much since then.
In any of those things until I got older and started developing my own interest in it. Check a field's result in the most shocking. In many cases, they had used original experimental materials and sometimes even performed the experiments under the guidance of the original researchers. So it was the original people that had developed the experiment or the findings that were redoing them. Of the studies that had originally reported positive results, an astonishing 6 hefty till-ringing registration fees. It only took a handful of days. The students wrote a simple...
Okay, I'm gonna skip.
Yeah.
Science has disproven that,
That statue that you showed, it's of an Indian deity named...
Okay.
But I just wanted to tie that in because I believe that this is them publicly, hiding in plain sight, the fact that sparked my kind of vigilant senses where I'm like, okay, something's up. So, this is where I believe, and that's why I called this spiritual technology. They actually did this creepy little Madonna style dance, and you can actually see them here. They got into a circle, and it's totally creepy. And it's like they were dancing inside of the thing. So you guys can check out that, but I just wanted to tie that in because I believe that this is them publicly, hiding in plain sight.
Okay, statue.
I believe that there are people who are trying to make this happen, but in the ancient Indian texts like the Vedas and Mahabharata, and actually there's stuff in there about UFOs too, which that could be a whole other episode maybe next week. I got a ton of information on that, but
yeah, okay. It seems like they're going into more of a conspiratorial route with it. Like they're trying to say that instead of these scientists, trying to explain like how these particles interact with the Heisenberg uncertainty principle and the like, that they're trying to summon demons or end the world or summon otherworldly beings or something, or UFOs or some crazy notion like that. I mean, if it's just going in a conspiratorial route, then it's just sort of insipid, kind of vacuous.
Yeah, I don't know when they made this video, but that's that CERN thing, right? When then CERN, the people at CERN did that ritual dance and that's already been kind of debunked. It was more like a prank, to spoof the internet and shit.
Right. They were trolling them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, some people fell for it. I mean, it's funny the way that people's paranoia is played up with jokes and the like. Okay, we're moving on. The world is sound asleep. The Rock says "Hail Satan" on SNL WWE.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in,
All
but you
right.
couldn't figure out just what it was.
Follow up on the video I did earlier with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, who hosted Saturday Night Live. I talked about the robots skit that apparently they found funny, which is just a mockery. It's them rubbing this stuff in our faces because we know these Satanists exist. We know that they're pedophiles. It's in their teachings. It's what they do. They do it behind closed doors. They've been getting away with it for far too long, because getting away with it for 5 seconds is getting away with it for far too long. But this has been going on for centuries upon centuries. But take a look at this clip right here. Some of my subscribers passed this along to me. I didn't see this because I didn't see the whole thing last night. I saw some of the clips. Get a load of this.
Smart. Xantrex gave me my life back. Hail Satan. Xantrex. Smart. Xantrex gave me my life back. Hail Satan. Xantrex. Smart. Xantrex gave me my life back. Hail Satan. Xantrex.
Oh, but we're all crazy, right? Crazy Christians, crazy conspiracy theorists, right? Because that makes sense in the middle of the skit for him to just say, "Hail Satan," instead of saying "Thank God" or "Thank our Father in heaven." You see how they're subliminally putting stuff like this in, "Hail Satan." We saw Lady Barfbag do this on a talk show where she said, "Oh, thanks Satan," "Oh, thanks Satan," instead of saying "Thank God."
I'm a little bit strange, and I'm like, if you don't get this right now, I swear to listen for I'm gonna. I get a little bit mad. I'm a little bit strange, and I'm like, if you don't get this right now, I swear to listen for I'm gonna.
It's unbelievable, but they call us crazy. Sure, we're crazy Christians. Are we crazy, or is everybody else just that?
Okay, so he's triggered that people are saying "Hail Satan" and talking about Lucifer on TV.
Yeah, I seen that clip. I watched it over the weekend, right? Sunday. I watched it Sunday. The whole skit. I watched the whole skit from beginning to end. And what it was is it was like the evil, the evil villains of the world were getting together to see who could build the most evil weapon, right? And one guy built a shrink ray, and some lady built a freeze ray, and he come walking in with a child molesting robot, right? And the other people, that the one that built the freeze ray and the shrink ray, they're like, and these other evil people are going, "Oh my God, that's just wrong," And he's like, "What? What? I mean, builds the most evil weapon in the world. The point of it being, that he built an evil robot, and then he says, "Yeah, hell, Satan." Well, they're supposed to be evil, right? They weren't. He wasn't trying to be good and build a child molesting robot. So why would he want him to say thank God for building a child molesting robot? I mean, what the hell?
Yep.
Threw it in there for no reason at all. They're having a video, baking cookies, and then he goes, "Oh, hail Satan for the chocolate."
I mean, it seems to me like this is just for comedy, just for entertainment. I doubt this is to push an agenda. I just think that this guy has this idea that his view is sacred and it shouldn't be scrutinized or criticized or mocked or anything like that. But you don't have that when you enter the public sphere.
Yeah.
That's stupid. The answer is everybody else is just that stupid. And that's how they get away with this stuff over and over and over. So you get The Rock on a night where he's got Katy Perry bringing out transgender freaks, promoting the transgender agenda, wearing her esoteric black and white outfit, where they have her promoting cannibalism as she lays on a table, Marina Abramovich spirit cooking style, as they promote cannibalism. We even get The Rock in a skit making humor out of children being molested, as if there's something funny about it. There ain't nothing funny about it. And of course, we get The Rock just slipping it in subliminally. Hail Satan, and the crowd laughs. Well, the joke's on the crowd. The joke's on everyone else. Doesn't bother me that people call us crazy, all the dirty messages I get. Kill myself, jump off a bridge, yippity doo dah. I could care less. Okay, this is about waking up the kids out there so they can see the truth. The adults are too dumbed down already. They're too prideful. Oh, these crazy tinfoil hat wearers. Wait till they find out on Judgment Day how stupid they were. They'll be trembling in their boots, not only for denying Jesus Christ, they should just be getting slapped in the face for being so.
Yeah, I think this guy is way triggered by this.
Yeah.
I mean, he seems to have a huge problem with. Hang on. Fucking fag in my background. Anyway, yeah, he seems to be very triggered by these entertainment pieces. Like he's viewing it as blasphemous. But I mean, I really don't see how this really matters in terms of freedom of speech and freedom of expression. I really don't think that this is like something that is really all that detrimental. He's just playing it up as if it's really all that horrible, and saying that, you know, the when Judgment Day comes, this is going to be a problem.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is he doesn't understand his own Bible condones and condemns cannibalism, right? You know, the flesh of Jesus. You know, and Jesus sitting at the table here, drink this is my blood, eat this is my flesh, right? Verse in there where it says that God's going to punish the people and make them eat their own children. Well, either there's still a promotion of cannibalism that you're trying to teach people, hey, if you really want to punish someone, eat their own kids. That's, you know, that's a really bad punishment. Or, you know, but then it's a good thing when it's, you know, eating and drinking the blood of Jesus. So I don't know why he's going to complain about cannibalism. It's like they got no self-reflection. It's everyone else is doing the things wrong.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's like it's part of a tradition, right? Like what he's doing is no different than what the preachers were doing with the Beatles when they said that they were bigger than Jesus. You know, that like anything that doesn't glorify Christianity, any like cultural piece that's popular or something like that, like whether it's like an exercise craze like yoga, or like who's the most popular music star right now, or like some great piece of art or something like that. It's, if it doesn't glorify Christianity, it's satanic and therefore bad, then should be rejected. I mean, that's their argument for anything, right?
Yeah.
You know, and they'll play it up. They'll be hyperbolic with that shit. You know, say that it's part of this grand conspiracy. Oh, they're kidnapping people, they're raping them, they're taking it up the ass now. They're getting killed off secretly. You know that. You know, everyone's going to be taken over. I mean, that's how they make their money. That's just how the game is played nowadays. But then again, that was always like that.
Cocky, so narcissistic to think that everything's hunky-dory, that this matrix is not a matrix. It's wonderful. It's freedom. To thinking that this world is freedom, America's freedom, these elections are real, all of this stuff, the people are in control, not the government. They're imbeciles. They need to be prayed for, absolutely. But how much more do you need to see for people to wake up? We talk about this stuff all the time, over and over, that these people are Satanists. Hail Satan. Oh, that's nothing. That's a joke, right? The whole show themed around all of the agendas. Go through my library of the last year of the videos I've done. What have I been talking about since day one, since way before Pizzagate?
Yeah, okay, I'm done. Yeah, if you mentioned that, yeah, we're just moving on. Yeah.
One thing I want to comment before you go moving on is he said the elections are real, right? You know, like mockingly, like oh, we're supposed to believe the elections are real, right? You know, so the elections are all fake. But now the last guy that was on from Right Wing Watch, he actually said that Trump was voted in correctly, right? You know, legitimately through constitutionally. So he's saying that it was a real good, honest election. So now, which one of these Christians is right? Right? Who's got the right? Was it fake or was it real?
Right, and I'll actually comment on that. You know what? I'll say this: the United States is not a perfect country. Obviously, it's not. But you know what? I'll take that over a theocracy any day. I'm glad we have, things like freedom of speech, freedom of expression, separation of church and state, where people could speak their mind in an open forum. I'll take that over some crazy ass theocracy and people, believing in some invisible man in the sky. Even though you can't see him or hear him, you're just going to interpret what he's saying and wanting to be done. I'll take that over the latter.
Yeah. So
I
when these
feel like
Christians get these Christians get in office, like this guy, right? Is he gonna outlaw saying "Hail Satan"? You're not allowed to say that no more. What what kind of government, what kind of world do they want that you can't speak that way?
I don't know. Let's get off religion for now.
All right.
Okay. Oh yeah, I've been meaning to talk about this for a while. Revenge on liberals.
I've just been at.
Okay, so what we're dealing with, we got this guy, this professional asshole consulting guy. Socialism works in Scandinavia and nowhere else. Pull the video up.
You're such an asshole.
Asshole consulting. We're gonna do the same old tired argument coming from the left. I'm getting tired of it. Oh, let's start with this. You're not going to the client who's asking. You're not going to convince people who want to believe in the Nordic Scandinavian model that socialism sucks. You're just not, because understand this. People want to believe in socialism and communism because it means free shit. It means other people's money. And if you think the strength of belief to a religion like a born-again Christian or a Muslim terrorist or any kind of cultist or whatever, if you think that's a strong belief, you're just not going to overcome the belief that people are entitled to other people's money. And so we can.
Okay, so let's just. Well, let's get one thing straight. First off, yeah, I've been hearing this a lot. Back when the elections were still going on about the Nordic style socialism, like the Nordic model being akin to communism and things like that. It's just not the case at all. Okay, it's basically what you have in Scandinavia is basically a hybrid system, same what we got in America. The difference here is they protect their citizens from being uneducated and having a lack of health care and not having enough for retirement and all these other disastrous things in order for their government to actually stay in support of itself, actually existing with society. So basically, so society is run democratically, as well as the economy, in order for everyone to be supported and taken care of. I mean, that's a socialist, government. That's a labor government and stuff like that, where they vote on these things, but it's not akin to communism or something like that. That's not the same thing. So he's got it ass backwards there. Bob, what do you have to say about this?
Oh, not a whole lot. I don't pay. I don't know anything about communism or socialism or anything like that. thing. I wish I could help you out there.
I mean, like it's sort of like how I mean we have a mixed economy in the United States, right? Like for example, we have businesses that compete against each other, but we have like social programs in this governments like public transportation, the library, public schools, stuff like that. Those are socialist aspects. I mean, you understand that, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
All
I'd
right.
say
Yeah.
I'd say that would be enough. Hang on one second. Let me get my power cord so this thing doesn't run out of juice. I'll be back in like 30 seconds. All right. Now let's hear more of this shit.
The technicalities or the statistical outlying nature of the Nordic socialist European model. And we can say, well, it only kind of works in Norway and Sweden. And oh, by the way, Norway's got a shit ton of oil. We can point this out all day. You're not going to convince the true believers that this is a statistical oddity or something specific to Nordic cultures and people. Because they choose to believe it. And you cannot reason or rationalize anyone who chooses to believe in something. So I just want to go there from the onset. So let's go through the question.
Well, I'll agree that while the Nordic model hasn't been tried anywhere else, I feel like there are lessons that we could learn from places like Canada with their healthcare program. It's national, like everyone's covered under their healthcare system. France's nationwide child care program, Nicaragua's literacy programs. I feel like there are lessons that we can actually learn from them, given the tremendous prosperity and the relative economic and the economic equality of these places. But according to this guy, who's a professional asshole, he knows.
A young man writes.
Oh, he knows. I said, so he knows it all. That I mean, that stuff wouldn't work here, or is it? What's he trying to say?
I mean, let's hear.
Hey, so I'm sure you've heard from Bernie Sanders supporters and leftists how great Scandinavian countries are doing with their version of democratic socialism. Here's a brief Bloomberg article on a supposed economic miracle in Sweden that has been happening in the past few years to show you this is not a falsehood. You see these every once in a while. Oh my God, Norway was the future in the 90s. That was the future. And then they just conveniently forgot to mention a third of its GDP comes from oil. And oil is evil because that causes global warming. But somehow that's good. So he provides a link. Sweden has had higher average economic growth than the OECD, meaning first world countries, basically. And
that last bit was a red herring, by the way.
And because this country of what? I think Sweden's got 5.5 million people. Because this country with 5.5 million people has socialism successful. We should apply it to the remaining 6.995 billion people on the planet. See, it works in Sweden, so you should just apply it everywhere. Ice fishing is fun. Minnesota, we should all go ice fishing in Belize. Just put your little ice fishing rack right out there on the point. Don't worry, you can be Jesus walking the water. There's no differences between cultures and environments and societies.
Well, okay. Well, I don't know what argument he's trying to make, but apparently, just going back to it, like if you compare the differences between, let's see, the United States and Scandinavia. There was actually an award-winning economist, Joseph Schlitch, right? He actually said because of their model, to where they have like free markets as well as social governments, just to where they have it set up so people don't have to worry about um, suffering or fighting over scraps. They actually experience more social mobility, better opportunities. They're actually the new land of opportunity rather than the United States. Because they actually have a program set up to where people can actually succeed and move up the ladder, rather than us, to where the 99% has to work hard and strive for little to nothing, while the 1% is at the top. This is the same thing. I mean, you could also look at the happiness index, the human development index, social progress. Scandinavia scores highest on all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. When you can get the whole country, I mean, I don't believe in making everyone equal like a communist place. I
Yeah,
mean, if you work hard, then you deserve the things you can get, right? But I don't believe that you should have a poor and a super rich. I mean, there should be something to fix that.
yeah. I'm not saying I want everyone to. I don't believe that we can have a complete equality of outcome, right? I think that if we make resources accessible to most, if not all, people, as well as put the equality for opportunity out there as a thing, like trying to produce more opportunities for people to jump onto, then that would actually have people be able to advance to newer levels and classes in life. And I think that Scandinavia is a decent uh, example for that.
Economies? So it provides a link there. I'm not going to mention it. And I do not doubt the numbers. Fine. Yes, Sweden is growing faster than average. Right? Pretty much everything I understand about economics would lead me to believe that the Scandinavian model can't work. High taxes and a large welfare net is a recipe for disaster. So why are these Scandinavian countries doing so well? Well, what am I missing? If you want to do some actual research on this subject, I'll pay. Also, I'd like a video response. Thanks. So I did know some things about, because I've gone down this road multiple times before, and I did brush up on some numbers. So let's talk about what the Scandinavians are doing correctly. There are some things that the Nordic Scandinavian models of their economies do, I would say, better than the United States or capitalist countries around. For example, nationalized healthcare. We in the United States, it's just appalling how much we spend on healthcare because of insurance companies, corrupt government, socialists, leftists who all want free shit. So we spend now with Obamacare is probably 16, 17% of our GDP on healthcare, both public and private. Whereas countries like Sweden, Switzerland, a lot of these European countries, they have nationalized healthcare for less than half that cost. So, whereas I'm against nationalized healthcare of any kind on principle, they do manage it better with a single payer system. What we got is this fucking Frankenstein of a monster combination public-private sector, and it is rife with corruption.
Yeah, I would agree. Obamacare is kind of inferior when compared to like universal health care as a right, and he even agrees. So I mean that's kind of a point against him. But I mean, we were just talking about that earlier. New York has passed a bill, for universal health care.
Excessive insurance costs and stuff like that. It's basically do one thing or the other. Don't do both. Don't do both. Either you have it public or you don't. If you're going to do it, fine. Do a national health care, fine. We'll do a vote on it. But this Obamacare, Republican, it's way more complicated, way more overregulated, and that's why. So in that one capacity, yeah, I would say that the European, and not just Scandinavian models, but the European models, they spend a hell of a lot less on healthcare. So they kind of do that well. Another thing is that their corporate taxes. Corporate tax rates in the Scandinavian countries are about half that in the United States, a little bit more than half, but in the 20 to 25% range. In the United States, we have corporate tax rates of 40%. So they encourage innovation, production, creativity. They don't hate employers. They just don't. Another thing I'm going to give to Scandinavians, they're more mature. They're harder working. They just, and they'll work, and this is where it's almost too bad for them, because they will enslave themselves. Because we just should work. That's the good Lutheran Christian thing to do, is work, 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 work. I don't care. And they're taxed. They're taxed at rates above 50%, most of them anyway. So over half your income goes to other people. Now that system can easily be taken advantage of. You see that, I see that. People not in Scandinavia see that. Especially the immigrants you guys got.
Okay, so he said a lot of stuff. Just to break it down, it's basically what he's talking about was social corporatism, which is based on like a social partnership between the interest of capital and labor, collective bargaining between representatives of employers and like the labor at the national level by the government. I mean, it's basically balancing it to where the employers can't take advantage of the common workers. You got trade unions represented by these national organizations. You don't got to worry about being screwed over. They don't have a minimum wage over there. So there's that. I mean, the way they have the welfare system worked on there, I mean, it's not like ours. They don't have like the welfare system that we adopt. I mean, at best, what the social programs do here in the States is that they supplement our income. 2/3 of the population that are on welfare are working, or have relatives that are working. So what they've done with the Scandinavian model is that they've universalized these public services for all people to benefit from. So free education, free healthcare, Social Security. These things are maintained so that they don't have to worry about slipping through the cracks. What do you think about that, Bob? Bob, you there? He must have stepped off or something. I don't know. Oh, he's refreshing. I guess I'll still play it.
Coming from Ethiopia and Somalia over there in Sweden, they realize that very clearly. So different cultures can see the huge flank that's open that can be taken advantage of, but it is their culture, their homogeneity, their society that leads them to work in spite of basically being enslaved to half the working year to paying for other people's shit. Now, we can debate why that is. They are in a cold climate, so you can fuck around. Like, you had to help out your fellow brother and man, and over the thousands of years living in cold climates with a very short growing season, you could not fuck around. You had to help out your fellow human being. You had to help, take care of your own, take care of the village. So it would almost be a climatic environment that would force its economic environment for it to work in this area. But then,
could someone say genetic fallacy? I think I can.
And this is kind of the larger point is, yes, it may work in Sweden, it may work in Scandinavia. Oh, where'd my notes go? Here we go. But we don't live in Sweden and Scandinavia now, do we? And what you will look at, what you will find is, yeah, okay, Norway's doing great because of oil. Sweden, the one country, is doing better than the others. They oddly don't mention Finland or Iceland. Did they mention Iceland and its fucking banking crisis? No, they conveniently left that out. And in Denmark, they don't mention that they have the good things that they've done. Lower corporate taxes. They're generally more pro-capitalism, even though they have high personal consumption taxes. They conveniently just look, see, free shit, they get all free shit, we get more free.
Okay, so all right, so I think I'm done listening to this fucker. Yeah. So anyway, I've already noted that the Scandinavia is the only ones to have utilized these progressive economic ideas. We have Canada, we have Finland, we have France and Nicaragua that have sort of publicized these services to people, and because of that, they have progressed in a very decent way. And I don't think the social democracy experience in Scandinavia is something that's very foreign from uh, what those in the states are trying to strive for. At least those on the progressive left. We just stated Medicare for all is sort of spreading in individual states. We've shown people who have made college, at least community college, free in some states like Tennessee, I believe Oregon, and California. People striving to maintain Social Security and so on. I believe that ultimately we'll adopt these ideals at some point in time through enough reform and evaluation. But that being said, we're moving on. Gregor, you okay?
When you think about
All right. Quarter life crisis. The inconvenient truth about the Democratic Party.
when you think about racial equality and civil rights, which political party comes to mind? The Republicans or the Democrats? Most people would probably say the Democrats, but this answer is incorrect. Since its founding in 1829, the Democratic Party has fought against every major civil rights initiative and has a long history of discrimination. The Democratic Party defended slavery, started the Civil War, opposed Reconstruction, founded the Ku Klux Klan, imposed segregation, perpetrated lynchings, and fought against the Civil Rights Acts of the 1950s and 1960s. In contrast, the Republican Party was founded in 1854 as an anti-slavery party. Its mission was to stop the spread of slavery into the new Western territories with the aim of abolishing it entirely. This effort, however, was dealt a major blow by the Supreme Court in the 1857 case, Dred Scott versus Sandford. The court ruled that slaves aren't citizens, they're property.
Okay, I believe that at this time this was more speaking in terms of. I mean, it seems like what's being done here is more of I don't know, like some kind of genetic fallacy. Oh, these guys doing this all these years ago, therefore, like people on the left are bad or have bad like intellectual roots. I mean, I don't see how this follows. I mean, there was definitely a shift during the 1920s and 30s to where, despite the left having this root in the with racism, they sort of reformed their thought on that, their view, and it was actually people on the right who was opposing integration, civil rights, and liberties, and the like. So I think this is some revisionist history on the part of the right.
The 7 justices who voted in favor of slavery, all Democrats. The 2 justices who dissented, both Republicans. The slavery question was, of course, ultimately resolved by a bloody civil war. The commander-in-chief during that war was the first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, the man who freed the slaves. 6 days after the Confederate Army surrendered, John Wilkes Booth, a Democrat, assassinated President Lincoln. Lincoln's vice president, a Democrat named Andrew Johnson, assumed the presidency. But Johnson adamantly opposed Lincoln's plan to integrate the newly freed slaves into the South's economic and social order. Johnson and the Democratic Party were unified in their opposition to the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery, the 14th Amendment, which gave blacks citizenship, and the 15th Amendment, which gave blacks the vote. All three passed only because of universal Republican support. During the era of Reconstruction, federal troops stationed in the South helped secure rights for the newly freed slaves. Hundreds of black men were elected to Southern state legislatures as Republicans, and 22 black Republicans served in the U.S. Congress by 1900.
I mean, that's really interesting. It's only, I mean, it seemed weird, after, during Reconstruction where they were segregated, not being able to go to school or utilize the same resources and utilities and stuff like that because they were under Jim Crow. I mean, that's not, I mean, it was sort of like the shifting on the right at around that time. So, I mean, it's not like it's, these people totally support these people.
The Democrats did not elect a black man to Congress until 1935. But after Reconstruction ended, when the federal troops went home, Democrats roared back into power in the South. They quickly reestablished white supremacy across the region with measures like black codes, laws that restricted the ability of blacks to own property and run businesses, and they imposed poll taxes and literacy tests used to subvert black citizens' right to vote. And how was all of this enforced? By terror, much of it instigated by the Ku Klux Klan, founded by a Democrat, Nathan Bedford Forrest. As historian Eric...
I mean, she just keeps repeating this fact like ad nauseum. It was founded by Democrats. It was founded by Democrats. It was founded by Democrats. I mean, we get that. It's sort of at that point. I mean, that's been well established. I mean, I fail to see what conclude so. I mean, is she trying to say that all people on the left are racist by virtue of some guy that was racist founding something? No, that's someone on the left founded something racist. What the fuck? I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, what?
Owner, himself a Democrat, notes, in effect, the Klan was a military force serving the interests of the Democratic Party. President Woodrow Wilson, a Democrat, shared many views with the Klan. He resegregated many federal agents.
Okay, yeah, whatever. Of this nonsense. Shut your dumb ass up. All right. Okay. Okay, we got couples argue over Trump and Obama, the doctor of common sense.
You have a real microphone. I got to just. First of all, what's your name? Scott. Scott. Deirdre Scott. Your man? No. You should be. You should be. Come on, Scott. You got to be better than you. Break the question, Scott.
What have you guys been drinking? Just let us know.
We went to work.
Vodka, tequila. Just not getting started though, right? Just getting started. Hey, we got a couple questions we'd like to ask you. From politics standpoint, the country is like almost divided. What kind of almost divided? What are you talking about? It is divided. Tell me this. What kind of job you think that Donald Trump is doing for the country? Is he helping the country?
He's somewhat helping it, but he can do more.
He can do more.
Yeah.
Do you think he's getting a bad rep? Or are they giving him a fair chance?
No, they're not giving him.
They're not giving him a fair chance.
They're not giving him a fair chance.
Do you?
I mean, I don't know. Like, he had 100 days, and that. I mean, like what he's done and the actions that follow. I think it's safe to say that he's kind of fucking up royal. I mean, trying to deny people in the country based on their religious preference, trying to build a wall that'll take, for the most part, most of his term to actually have instated. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's right. Getting us involved in wars with the Middle East, dropping a bomb on Syria, friggin', and Afghanistan, pretty much, doing the stuff that he said he wouldn't do. Let's hear more from what these couples have to say.
Nobody gets a fair.
No matter who you are.
I think Washington's so screwed up.
Obama
It
didn't get a
doesn't
fair
matter
chance.
who is in
Neither is Trump.
there.
And do you guys pay any attention to politics whatsoever?
No, sir.
Nope. Go to the
We're not fine.
You do. Donald Trump, you think he's doing a good job or a bad job?
Terrible.
He's terrible. What's the reason?
Everything he does is terrible. I don't want to talk shit
No, it's okay.
on.
Hey, this is open forum. If you don't like him, just say it. What do you think he's doing bad?
One, I don't think that he should be talking shit about everything on Twitter. Like, that's not
Stop
presidential.
tweeting, huh?
Yeah,
Stop tweeting. Okay.
I think he's doing a terrible job with like our international relations and how he's going
Which
about
country do you think he's pissing off?
everybody,
His own.
his own and everybody.
Everybody, he's making everybody.
Yeah.
Do you think Barack Obama did a better job than Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Specifically, what did Barack Obama do that Donald Trump's not doing? Public enemy.
He knows how to talk to people and not.
And he didn't propose building a wall that would keep people out. Things that they could dig under. Yeah.
I mean, did you hear his speech, his commencement speech?
Then he was letting people out. So.
Who we have here with us?
Kristen Colley.
Kristen Colley. How long you guys been married?
8 years.
8 years. What's the secret of happiness?
She's the boss.
Is that true?
Yeah.
So whatever she says, you just go along with it. Pretty much.
Yeah, just like I'm doing now.
So if you want to buy something that's big, and you decided that she doesn't really want it, but you really need it, you really want it. You've been waiting all your life, you've been working hard. Did you get it? He talked to it. What if you want to buy something? Like say you got 5 pair of black shoes, and you want to get the 6th pair.
The other ones don't fit.
She basically, she gets what she wants.
She gets what she wants.
He approved healthcare. Yes, he did.
Do you think that was a better healthcare bill?
You think?
I do.
You think you pay less? So you pay
You
less.
pay more or less?
You pay less for what you get.
Healthcare is
That's this
expensive.
guy.
It is.
Yes, I pay more.
You pay more?
Yes.
And you willing to pay more?
He seems to be having fun doing this. Okay. Next video. All right. Okay, yeah, Drag mentioned this. Lundy files. Atheist scientists perceive intelligence higher than their own response to evidence.
Hello, evidence. This video is to you in response to the second video which you made regarding me. Okay, I'm making this because I see that you actually misunderstand what I was asking. Okay, and I can also see that you do not believe me when I say that I'm not asking about God. Okay, but I'm going to play what you say, and then I'll respond to it. Okay. I'm going to do this, briefly. What do they say? Throwing the burden of proof on them. And I'm not doing that. I'm not even asking you about God.
I cannot speak for all who commented your video, but I certainly did not avoid answering your question. I made several answers, but you didn't like them. Perhaps...
Okay, let me stop there. No, at the time that I was asking this particular question, many atheists, they did not answer the question. What they did was evade answering it. Okay, they diverted answering the actual question that I was asking them, and so did you also, evidence in the beginning. That's what you did, and that's why I made a video. And this is not something new. I've encountered this many times with atheists. I've spoken with them many times.
Okay, here we go. The be all end all question. He's got it. Holy shit! Hang on.
Okay. Now I'm enjoying. Persons have finally answered, directly. Now they have, and I've enjoyed some of their answers. Okay, but no, you were one who did not answer the specific question that I was asking. Okay, because you did the same thing as the other atheists were doing, like trying to pull apart the question and did not answer it directly because you were thinking that I was asking about God, and I wasn't. Okay, my point is, and also the video title, yes, atheists perceive it as derogatory.
Oh my God, just get to the fucking point, dude.
Derogatory, but it's not derogatory in my intent. I'm merely stating that you're contradicting yourself. Okay, it's not really derogatory. It's derogatory because you perceive it as unfavorable. Okay, but if let's say,
I'm pretty sure that derogatory wouldn't be the right word. I think the correct word would be disingenuous. But then again, it's very vague what you're saying. Because you just get to the fucking point.
A person is doing something, you just point out, say, hey, well, you're making an error over here, or you're going backwards. Okay, it's not meant to be derogatory. It's just meant as an identification of what you're actually doing. Okay, and when I speak to atheists, I'm speaking to them as if I'm receiving their belief. Okay, but when I'm receiving their belief, it's if I'm in it, I notice contradictions.
It's non-belief, by the way.
Okay, in the logic. Okay, because I say, okay, well, okay, I understand that something was intelligently made. Okay, and also I have to avoid saying intelligent design because of what intelligent design means in the atheist or scientific community. I'm not asking about intelligent design. Okay, what that means. Okay, I'm asking, like I said, if somebody can view a space probe or anything, an intelligent being, he's able to identify or assume that this indicates something about it as a design. It's fascinating. I'm intrigued by it. Okay, that can be whether man made it or man hasn't made it. Okay, just like a bird, crocodiles, stars, things, anything. There are certain things about those things that are very complex. They have a lot of order, precision, quality, okay? And so there's something about that as intelligent human beings that we recognize. And we have to recognize it because those things exceed our own creations in complexity.
Yeah, I really don't know what he's referring to. I mean, okay, when he's talking about like something being intelligently, I mean, we understand like how computers, how houses, how planes, space probes, we understand how they're built. we can go back to blueprints. We understand that, physical thinking minds are capable of producing these complex structures. We understand that. We don't have the same experience with life or stars or the universe. We don't have that same experience. We usually when we're talking about these things, it's dealing in laws of physics and chemistry and mathematics and things like that. So I don't. I think that's like the separation in these, and when you're making this comparison. When with one, we have that experience with things that we know are designed because we could see that. With the other, we don't have that evidence. So
precision and quality. Even when we try to emulate those things, we fall short of it. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. That's what I was asking atheists, and them being able to understand what is a testament to their own intelligence, things that are in nature which exceed man's accomplishments are a testament to at least greater knowledge or greater understanding, okay, than his own. That's what I'm asking. Is this clear? So I'm saying atheists contradict their own logic if they automatically assume, insist that these things have nothing in them that indicate intelligence. Okay, whether or not you want to, you can continue to theorize and think of ways that you think that it came about without intelligence, but you cannot totally deny that these things are indicative of intelligence because the things exceed our own creations. Okay, so that's my point. Okay.
Yeah, these life forms evolved. We understand that because of fossils and DNA. And as for stars, we understand that they're made of interstellar gas and particles. All right. Yeah, not very complex. I mean, we understand that they're composed of simple, let's say components, for lack of a better term. But we understand how, given enough time and regularity and the like, they could become more complex over time. All right, that's basic science 101. Has nothing to do with belief in a God or not.
Let me stop and let you go ahead. Go again here.
Answers, but you didn't like them. Perhaps I didn't understand what you asked for specifically.
Exactly. Right. You may not understand, so you didn't understand. I know, but I believe you did understand because sometimes when a person does understand what you're asking and they understand the impact of that question, they'll try to evade answering it. Okay, because of what the question proves. Okay, so they're trying to skate around it. All right.
I don't really think you proved anything with any of the examples that you've given in your earlier response, because for one, you try to make some kind of analogy that because we understand that there are some things that are designed, therefore that we can't deny how life and other natural phenomena is designed. I don't like you haven't presented any real evidence there. You gave an analogy and it's a false one. So there's no real impact in what you're saying. It's just a watchmaker analogy that's been rehashed.
But I did answer. The only one here who did not answer was you. You asked, what is the criteria for intelligent design? And then you clarified what, in your opinion, signifies intelligent design.
Okay, again.
I answered that all.
Again, okay, right. I wasn't asking about intelligent design as atheists interpret it, okay, or that term, okay? I'm not asking that. I'm asking, I already explained it. I don't want to have to go back into it, okay? But no, I'm not asking that, okay? That's where you misunderstood it because you keep thinking that's what I'm asking, and that's not what I'm asking. Again, I'm proceeding from the point of atheists as if I've given over to it, okay? And still, even if I give over to it, I'm still thinking, just like in one of your comments, you answered when I asked a question to another person, have they observed a biogenesis, or that have they observed living things originating from inanimate matter? You answered no. Okay, which is correct. Some other atheists, though, like the person I was speaking to, answered in the affirmative in saying that yes, they have observed certain parts of the process. Okay, but notice that that's a contradiction within the atheism field. Okay, because you answered honestly, no, they haven't, which is true. Okay, so that is a fact.
Okay, so I'm gonna. I'd say I would give this guy credit, but I'm not really going to because that was just stupid. First off, there's no atheism field. What he's talking about is specifically biology, really organic chemistry, but in the sense that he's referring to the origin of life. But see, that has nothing to do with atheism or intelligent design. What he's trying to do is he's trying to poke holes in science and try to apply this this design or this intelligence, whatever it is, to be able to explain it. It's a God of the gaps hypothesis, what he's proposing. And I knew he was going to go there. He was that's usually where creationists go to when they don't have anywhere to go.
Do you have anywhere to go?
What was that? Do I have anywhere to go?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Like what he said, there's no and I haven't been listening the whole time, but
it's cool.
If there's no life coming into existence from basically just biology, where does the atheist go? Where does it come from then?
Well, I mean, I'm just curious with what the guy's saying, right? Like he started off saying that he was talking about atheism, then he was talking about he was talking about ID, like intelligent design, and then he sort of talked about he asked I think the evidence for you individual that guy apparently, like, how did abiogenesis occur, or like has he ever seen abiogenesis occur, and he said no. But his response to that is, that's a problem with the atheism field, because some other guy that he was talking to online said that he did see it. So it's like, I mean, it's weird, right? Like he's talking about science, he's bringing this up, but then he's talking about this is a problem in the atheism field. But atheism isn't science. That's just not believing in a God. I mean, that's abiogenesis. That's a matter of like chemistry or something like that, biology. So I mean, that's sort of like the disconnect. He's trying to form some God of the gaps hypothesis. So I don't know where how what is he trying to like go with that, because I mean that's not really of substance. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to poke holes in science. It's basically we don't have an explanation, therefore let's insert like God into this in this gap.
That's what science is basically doing too, though. In a way, they're trying to find out how could this come around through natural processes, right? Like if they can prove that without their interference, or their intelligence behind it, if it comes about through natural processes, they're trying to disprove basically the claim that God created this, and they would say that, hey, it comes about through natural processes. So and from what we see, no, that's not the case. From what we see to be the case is that they're trying to grab RNA and and mess with that to a point where it's forming DNA. But the thing is that they're already defeating their their case if they are manipulating. If they are manipulating something to bring about that, well, there you go. You already defeated. You're saying that an intelligence had to create this, put this together to create this life. But if it comes about by natural process, there you are. You have an argument for naturalism. Is that
Yeah, but I
correct?
mean, how would okay if a process like that were to occur and science were able to replicate abiogenesis, how would that be disproving like some? How would that be able to disprove like a supernatural intelligence being involved in that? How would that falsify it?
I don't think it would falsify it neither, but it would definitely throw some shockwaves through the world and say. But to me, I would just say that it was already there, right? I mean, life is there to work the way it is. Like we have all type of things in the ocean and uh, organisms that are living. So how do you know? I mean, we got to prove next step. Can it bring forth, the the other organisms through evolution? You got to prove that it'll bring forth some type of organism that turns into another organism, and we might not live to see it. But if they can, if they can trap something that is turning into an organism on its own without any interference, and then okay, here comes Tiktaalik again, and the process of evolution. Maybe you can. That's the only thing I can think of.
I
You
mean,
have to show the evidence.
well, personally, I wouldn't. I'm not saying that I'm myself is a scientist or anything like that. Nor do I think this is really necessary. But I remember this one study I read where these scientists in Glasgow constructed this experiment, this study where they took basically a robotic system that was supposed to mimic natural selection and applied it to where chemicals were able to evolve and produce complex structures and combinations through certain rules of division, diversion, that things like that basically. Like it would be reactions to their environment. So like they said that this was the first time they saw like a chemical process evolve outside of biology. So that's pretty crazy. But to say that we've never seen abiogenesis occur, like in the sense of like that millions of billions of years ago, to where therefore that this intelligent design hypothesis is plausible as a result of that. I mean, that's just it's not standing on its own merits. It's trying to find some gap in our knowledge and trying to fit itself there. I mean, that's not how science works. It doesn't say we don't have a good area of understanding here, so we're going to insert this thing just in case for its own sake. We actually look for research and evidence and a way to experiment to see if this thing has any validity. So that's why I'm saying this Lundy guy is invoking God of the gaps.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, and even then, and here's the thing, even more so, he's kind of moving away from the main issue because he's criticizing evidence for you because of his atheism, right? If he's trying to say that science is, because science isn't necessarily atheistic. It's not saying like, oh, we know there is no God or any supernatural. It's just that we don't have any experiments to test that, so we're limiting it to like naturalistic explanations where we could actually test an experiment and do research. So it's sort of like like a hard agnostic tool, like it's a methodological like
Just skeptic.
Yeah. Let's go with that. Skeptic.
Yeah.
Yeah, scientific skepticism.
You haven't had an experience that basically
Of angels, of demons, anything
converts
like
you.
that.
Well, I mean, that's the thing that I don't understand sometimes about atheists, because I believe God comes to us all. Now, how have you ever had any experience when hearing the word of God?
Mm.
Truthful.
I mean, I've read it. I've heard people talk to me about it. I don't. I haven't seen a. I haven't had a supernatural experience as of yet. I haven't really had that thing done. But
You, you,
let's.
you haven't felt convicted of your sins? Never?
I don't think so. I don't think sins are an actual thing. But let's listen to more of the video and see what this
Yeah,
guy's
go ahead.
thoughts about it is.
And so that fact has to be incorporated in their teaching. Okay, if they realize that fact when they go teaching their theories or whatever, that fact which which you noted has to be it should be included in their teaching. It cannot be abandoned. Okay, so but yet they do abandon this, and that's why their teaching. And when I ask certain persons questions, they contradict their own logic, and they contradict their own knowledge. That's what I'm saying. Okay, which your comment, as well as another individual's comment, who subscribe to unbelief in God, prove that's a contradiction. You're not saying the same thing. It's just obvious. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not trying to be derogatory. I'm just identifying that there's contradiction. Okay,
signifies intelligent design.
I don't think that's there.
I answered that almost anything not made by nature could be considered design. Don't lie to people, Thomas. And by the way, you are asking about God. The whole point behind the creationists and their ID movement is that an intelligent designer designed all things.
Okay. Okay, yes, creationists believe that, yes. But no, I'm not lying to you, and don't imply that I am. You just don't believe what I'm telling you. Okay, I don't fear asking you questions or you asking me questions in my position. No, I'll say it again. I was not asking you about God. Okay? Again, I'm proceeding from the position as if I'm believing what you're saying, that I'm an atheist, because I've been in that mindset. I mean, I haven't totally given all over to it, but I've been in that mindset where I consider a lot of things. Okay, so I understand certain things. So no, I'm not asking. When I say I'm not asking you about God,
Wolf.
I'm not asking you about God. There will be other times where I do ask you about God. I will clarify that. I'm not lying. I don't have to lie. Okay. Let me continue this. Okay, so I'm gonna to articulate that same question again. I just want to respond to you, not me.
Both Dragnut and I asked you, but you said nothing. We even invited you to a hangout to have a discussion, so you could clarify your position. Okay, all right. Now, yes, and I answered you about the
Wolf.
Okay.
Oh, are you doing this for your hangout?
Am I doing this on my hangout?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I just came in now.
Yeah, I was just looking at this video. Dragnot made a response to this guy, and he looked kind of interesting, at least to criticize his videos on. So that's what I'm doing.
All right.
Okay.
I told you I don't have any I'm not up on all that stuff right now. Okay, I'm making this from my pad. Okay, and I just recently got that. All right, so and then I'm self-employed too, so I'm busy. I can't I'm trying to do what I can. Okay, but yeah, I'm behind the times on the apps and all this stuff. Okay, and you may not believe that, but that's the truth. Okay, all right, let me pause it again.
But you ran away.
And some of you.
Does that space probe possess something which indicates that someone intelligent made it? The space probe itself doesn't. There must be someone observing or perhaps touching the space probe. That someone must be very intelligent too.
Okay. All right. Yes, the space probe does possess something which is it testifies to the intelligence of the maker. Okay. And what that is its order. It's how it was put together. Okay. So it possesses those things about it, which testifies to its maker. Okay. So that's simple as that. Okay. One second. I know. Okay. The rest of the few times that you talk is I've already covered your points. And now let me just hear what you say in the end here.
Yeah, God bless. Now it's your turn. Please connect the dots for me. What makes you assume that just because we can make a space probe, some God made us? That's all, folks. Take care.
Okay, I think I've answered that question too. Just because you can make a space probe, why would I assume that God made us? Because, or we could assume, or it's sensible to at least consider the fact that someone intelligent made us, because we didn't make ourselves. We are incapable of making ourselves. We're still studying ourselves. We're still studying many things in nature that, again, like I've said before, exceed our own ability to emulate those things. Okay, they exceed them in quality, complexity. Okay, knowledge. Okay, we're still.
Well, I think the difference between like a space probe and humans, I think like Homo sapiens, I think the difference. I mean, we could see could see the space probe actually being made. You can actually see the lab. You can look at the blueprints and notice how the thing is constructed and to operate in space and all that. I mean, with like the evolution of mankind, I mean that's more of a biological thing. It doesn't have the same process. Those are two different processes. What you're talking about. So I think that's sort of like the divergence right there. One, you could actually see the thing being made with the evolution of our species. I mean, that's something a little different. You actually have to look at what the basic regularities in nature have to say about that. But yeah, yeah, that's it for that video. Adventist Hermes, what's up? Hello.
I said not much. Someone invited me here. I think someone added me, but I don't want to change the subject or anything.
Probably Zulu.
It's fine. I think we sort of settled it.
What, that he was saying something about God of the gaps and you just disagree, basically.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it seemed like he was kind of like using some kind of intuition for like going with intelligent design, and that's fine and everything. But I mean, if you're gonna take like something like, for example, you're saying he said the space probe, right? Mm-hmm. And trying to make it in some way in comparison to life, you know. I feel like that's more that's just more analogous. It's not really literal. It's not factual. I mean, there's sort of a disconnect. You know.
What about the actual study of science, right? The
study of science.
Yeah, the study of science, or the.
I mean, science is a study.
Yeah, I know, but the actual boots on the ground is basically studying information. Science.
Like you're talking about you mean its foundation, right?
Yeah. Yeah, its foundation is studying information. And on a world that has information for us being basically the ones that are studying the information of the world. I think there's no excuse for saying that this world had no creator. But I would be saying God of the gaps, right? That's God of the gaps.
I wouldn't say that's the same thing as God of the Gaps. I would say that just that's more of an like a belief, an opinion, I believe.
Mm,
I mean, but you talked about. Hang on. I want to wait until the background's clear.
okay. The fact that we have information in a galaxy or universe says a lot. And the information is logical. It's not illogical to us. You know, like we make magnets by introducing metal to electricity. Uh, we have gravity. We have electromagnetic field that protects us from sun rays. Uh, we got a tilt for the seasons. You have fall, summer, winter, spring. I could go on and on. Got oxygen. I mean, everything makes sense. You have a battery, got the positive, the negative. It's not illogical information. Can you guys hear me still? Okay.
I can hear you.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying?
All right, I'm back.
I got some of it. I wasn't paying attention. I thought you were having more conversation with Wolf, though.
I was just saying the information that we find is logical. It's not illogical. And our brains interpret what is logical and what's illogical.
Makes sense.
Yeah, well, if you logic, that's more of an of an abstraction, but science, like if you're talking about its foundation, I mean that's a methodological naturalism or scientific naturalism.
You could call it what you want, but I'm just saying that we don't observe illogical things. We observe logical things.
Well, I I already explained that that's an abstraction. That's just how how we view like those things, those laws of logic. But going back to science, it's the foundation of scientific naturalism. It's sort of like what I explained earlier. Since there's no way to test or examine or experiment on the supernatural, it's limited to naturalistic explanations and methods. Basically, things that could be understood with mathematical modeling and empirical evidence and things like this. That's that way we could form scientific theories about it and be able to make predictions about its phenomenon in the future. So I mean that's sort of how that basis works. I mean now, you know, uh, uh, does that mean that there is no supernatural? No, I don't think so. But for every explanation that we have, the answer's been natural. I mean, we're still waiting. I mean, for example, you got friggin' James Randi with that $1 million prize, if that's still out there, I think. Maybe, to show whether or not a supernatural claim could be confirmed or shown, but it's just kind of lacking right now.
I think it could be shown, but I don't think it would be accepted because okay, here's an example of it being shown. All right, before I met Nephilim free, right? Before I even knew the guy existed. But and and before I even walked into the church when I was 15 years old, right? I had I heard the word of God, and it made sense to me morally, spiritually. It reached out and grabbed me in a way, right? Now, the whole thing of baptism, the pastor says, does anybody want to be baptized? I threw my hand up. I was overwhelmed with the Holy Spirit, and it was good. And then the experience of that baptism, nobody told me what I was going to feel. Nobody told me what was going to happen afterwards. But I got baptized, and when I walked out of that church, everything was like the color of the earth had changed. It was the greens were more greener. The blue was bluer in the sky. The sun was brighter. And then I mosey on down, say a couple years, well, you could say 12, 15 years. Then I meet Nephilim and I hear his testimony, and it coincides with mine. He's seen the same thing after his baptism. And a lot of more Christians confirm that same thing. And I'm telling you, 100%, I never I never really talked to anybody about that experience until I heard Nephilim Free say that he had the same exact experience that I had. So it confirms the Holy Spirit. And then when you read Romans 7, that confirms the internal feeling that you have with the battle of sin. So I mean that's the only way I can say that you can confirm the supernatural is the experiences of the believer. I asked I asked a Muslim, have you ever had an experience with Allah, the spirit? No. He said, no, I never had any experience at all with any supernatural type of thing. Now, granted, that's one guy, but the believer, the Christian, how can he explain the exact same thing without even knowing me?
I mean, if you're talking about like personal experiences, like with regard to spirituality, I mean, you'd agree that that's like a subjective thing, right? That depends on like
Say
I
what
mean,
you
especially
want.
like with the example you gave, right? Like it depends on the individual. Am I correct in that?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Like, I mean,
I mean, how did it coincide with another individual that I never met?
well, I think that's well, when you're talking about spirituality, I believe that's more of a, I mean, that's more of a, individual, like human type of thing. I wouldn't say that I haven't heard of any convergence on that board. It's more of a diverge. But let me just give a couple of examples just so you understand my perspective, where I'm coming from. Uh, for example, people practice, meditation from a rationalist or a secular standpoint. It's a valid practice that does not have to be linked to any religious belief. The psychology community actually promotes that as a great way to relieve stress. There have been people that have dropped acid and experienced, very psychedelic views and a like just a higher state of consciousness or something like that. I remember a person, I believe from Scandinavia or maybe Holland or somewhere in Europe, that claimed that, and who was running a blog and said that he dropped acid, and his experience was of such magnitude, he just stopped smoking cigarettes altogether. So I mean, these things can be examined, they can be looked at. It's not like they're like beyond understanding. I mean, it seems to be more of a like some psychological um, basis.
Okay. I'm not gonna fight you on it, man. That's all I can say, really. And there's many
I
more.
mean, I'm just saying when you go on that basis of like, oh, this like a spiritual thing. I'm not saying that's foreign. I'm saying that's other, but like when it comes to that level, I mean, at that point, it could be like interpreted through anything. You know,
What about
like it's not like it's this like a one group club for everyone when you talk about spirituality.
what about the fact that before I even read Romans 7, it was confirming what the believer goes through internally.
What do you mean?
The law of sin, the things that I don't want to do, yet I do.
Sin?
Yeah.
Could you expound on that a little further?
I mean, I can expound in
because you said before you read it, like you were talking
I was going through it. Listen. I mean, and I'm not gonna be like I've been rude to you before, Wolf, and I do apologize for that because I think I don't know if you're truly seeking or not, so I don't have a right to be rude to you at any manner. Or any
it's fine. It's fine. I don't hold grudges that much.
I know you don't. You're truly natural. You show the trueness of the natural man because you don't really care. I know you don't, and I don't either. That's the natural man. Now, know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law, how that the law hath dominion over a man as long as he liveth. For the woman which hath an husband is bound by the law to her husband so long as he liveth. But if the husband be dead, she is loose from the law of her husband. So then, if while her husband liveth, she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress. But if her husband be dead, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she be married to another man. Now, if the thing is, something just told me to stop reading this, because if you actually read Romans 7 before you go through it, you might be lacking your justification. But yeah, I'll hold my tongue on that. I don't have to prove it to you. Just if you want to read Romans 7, go for it, Wolf. But I don't know. I mean it's a justification of the Christian believer. And it's something you go through before you even, I mean, it's there in the paper way before you even read it, and that's what you experience after accepting the Holy Spirit.
I mean, I get it. I just think that there are just simpler terms that could be broken down to it. Like you were saying, like there was like it sounded like it was in context to like a relationship or something.
Yeah, the law said.
Yeah.
You do things that you do not want to do. Like I said,
I mean that would be related to like like sort of chemicals in the brain and stuff like that. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, things like that.
Okay.
Like like basically like governing how one gets addicted to something, or if you have weird dopamine regulations or oxytocin, like compelling animals to breed and all that. I'm just saying that there are ways you can break this down to where other explanations might just seem irrelevant. But I mean, who knows? The future.
Yeah, the future. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, it's open.
How old are you, Wolf? If you don't mind me asking, you don't have to answer.
It's fine. 24.
Oh yeah.
I think I told you that before.
Yeah, I'm 35. I thought
Yep.
you were older than 24, dude. Dang.
Yeah, it's the bass in the voice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's more of the skepticism too. Your skepticism is of an older man type of way. I would say, like you actually been through a lot. But at 24, wow. Yeah.
Yep. See crazy things almost every day. Well, not every day, but
Hmm. My advice would be, and I'm gonna leave after I say this, because
No.
I got
Well, I would just. Well, I mean, you could say it. I just have one more video, and then I was gonna probably wrap it up anyway.
okay. Well, I was leaving because I got some mechanical work I'm helping my friend with outside.
Oh.
He went to go get a part. He'll be back soon. Drop the precept, drop your precept, and just be a man, be a human being, and live your life. If from what I noticed, Wolf, you are against uh what the believer believes. But if you just drop that and just say, you know what, I'm gonna retire from this YouTube thing for a while, or just take a vacation and go, just work, live my life. There you go. That's all I can say is do something like that for at least a month or something, and drop the priest up.
Mm.
Maybe it'll help you. Because right now I just see you as attack mode, and not caring. It's not a shot against you. I just don't know what you're. The reason I say that, I don't know what you're going through because I've never been an atheist. Before I walked into church when I was 15, I don't think I never heard of any.
Yeah, my internet crapped out. I heard what you said. My internet crapped out a little bit. But anyway, yeah, I was actually thinking of doing that. Probably taking a vacation. And listen, Matthew, it's not that I just it's not that I assert that I'm absolutely right 100%. I think I remember I think Richard Dawkins did this thing about like your degree of non-belief, right? Whether it's like a 1 to like a 7, I think. And the way I see it, I'm like a 6. I don't think there's sufficient evidence to support a belief in a deity. That doesn't mean that I know absolutely. There is that bit of it that leaves open the possibility that maybe there might be a fact discovered to where, hey, X equals God. Who knows? If that was the case, I might acknowledge it as a fact, maybe, but I doubt. However, I would doubt that my behavior would change. You know, I mean, I'd still I'd still crack jokes about religion. I'd still criticize it if I feel like it's doing too much. I mean, that's just who I am. I'm just that critical, skeptical type of thinking person. That's just what I'm. That's just who I am.
Yeah, and don't forget that the next time you talk to Christians, they haven't dropped that neither. We're still humans that walk with God. We actually even doubt. We have doubt in our walk. If you're not doubting, you're not actually living.
Yeah.
If you're not skeptical of things, you're not living a life. So yeah, just don't look at us as all just being some gullible type of. I don't know how you look at us, but yeah, I'm definitely not no gullible guy.
It depends
People
on
try to.
it depends on, not to cut you off, but it depends on the context and situation.
Well, I mean, I confirm my biases, of course, but I do have a bias. I will not lie on that. But the whole thing about gullibility, no, I'm not a global dude.
No, but I will agree with you that Christians are skeptical, and that's kind of growing. I mean, I remember reading this Pew report from a while ago saying that it's a Pew report. A record few Americans actually take the Bible as literal.
Yeah, there's parts that aren't literal in the scripture. Yeah, like the whole flat Earth thing, right? You got the flat Earth thing. Why are Christians busting, ramming each other in the head over that? Because in the scripture, it's basically ambiguous. You have one scripture that says that the earth is a circle and it hangeth upon nothing, right? And then you got the other scripture that says the earth has pillars, but you could say that is allegorical because there's other part like G-Man was saying. Is God a rock? Literally? No, but that's in the scripture. See, and people put it in their mind to say, "Oh, the earth is flat," and it's in the scripture. Nah, if you actually
You got to understand, like, people thousands of years ago, like that, like the region that they lived on was considered their world to them. They didn't, they didn't know really much. I mean, they were nomads. They like the land that was around them at the time, that was their whole life. So it's not really all that surprising even if they believed that was flat, that was just a reflection of their experiences.
But I mean, I'm telling you,
more importantly, I'm almost done. And even though, more importantly, like the flat Earth movement is mostly either it's a combination of people. It's people who either literally are crazy and believe that the world is flat, like Von Helton, and there are people that troll, or Bob, or there are people that troll like Shaquille O'Neal saying that the world is flat. So yeah,
troll, yeah. But I mean, I can't
like for example, your boy Arcane, your brother in Christ Arcane, he actually buys that shit. Yeah.
And that's fine that he thinks that the earth is flat.
And then there are some that troll like Pillbox.
I mean, if they believe that the earth is flat though, that's fine, but they can't say that they got it from scripture because the scripture is ambiguous on that. And it's allegorical a lot of times when they're talking about that. Like, if you ask Pillbox, is God a rock? He will say no. See? So he's taking some things, he's taking the flat earth stuff as literal when it's clearly being ambiguous because you have it on both sides. And I don't even think God would tell us with complete, like, oh yeah, the earth is a globe, by the way. Like, just in scripture, that would seem out of place. It would seem out of place to put that in the Bible. So, and one more thing to add, when you were saying that the people of the times, I believe that the scripture is inspired by God. So it's not really the man that's writing the scripture. It's the inspiration of God that's writing the scripture. I think some of these dudes weren't even there. Like, the scribes were just sitting there and they were writing, and it was a spiritual experience. I don't even know if Moses wrote the 5 books. There's proof. There's proof of that outside of the text. The Bible.
There are scholars that think Moses was more of a legend, than anything else. But
of course,
yeah. Hey, Peter, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, man? These guys had some contention with each other.
Yeah. Anyway, listen.
On your platform.
Listen, I was actually gonna put on a video. Like, this is actually the bonus video for the hangout. So I'm gonna put that on for you right now.
I'm gonna go to Wolf. Good talking to you.
All right, cool.
All right.
Today is a day for truth.
You forced me to go.
Let the record show that this committee holds him responsible.
Innocents die. That's how it stops. The fever, the rain.
Oh, that's funny.
I know, it's cool, right?
Who did that?
Darwin's Grizz Hits.
Oh my god, yo, that's a real. Is that him?
Yeah.
That's his. Who found this? Who got his
They
picture?
they edited the trailer and added in like special effects for Darth Dawkins and all that.
How did they get his picture?
I guess they took it from hangouts where he was on and edited the video out like that.
That is some funny shit right there.
I know it's hilarious. It's genius.
Oh my god.
That son of a bitch brought the war to us.
I'm basically a nice person.
You're psychotic.
So God's plan is actually the laws of life.
This is a good video.
That editing, like,
What you say?
I said the editing is crazy.
I know it's perfect.
Hey, can you turn on join by link for a second?
Hmm.
Can you turn on join by link for a second?
Turn on what?
Join by link for a second.
Oh. Should I do that?
You said how?
Yeah.
You gotta go. What are you on your computer?
Yeah.
You gotta go through the three. Shit. Damn. I can't remember how to do it on the computer.
Hey, Zulu, we watching Darth Dawkins versus Batman and Superman.
I watched that one. That was funny.
Yeah.
Greatest gladiator match in the history of the world. God versus man. Day versus night.
Name confidence. Suicide. Give it you.
I just turned it on for a second. I'm just trying to get Khalif in here real quick. I'm gonna turn it off.
Don't fucking open your mouth again.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
So is Didi William Lane Craig?
No.
He sounds so much like him.
What DD sounds like William Lane Craig?
Like seriously, I'm not even joking.
No,
Like I actually thought when I first watched William Lynn Craig, I thought it was Diddy.
nah. I mean, he's aware of who he is, but yeah, he is not William Lane Craig.
Oh, do you know who he actually is?
I don't know. Should he never got on cam. Like
Smart.
like all of like he hides behind a million sock accounts, so it's a mystery. He's asked there have been people who've wondered who Darwin's greatest hits actually is.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Apparently, people are saying it's a woman or something.
Yeah, some people say it's a woman. Some people say that Krillism is really Darwin's greatest hits, or Joe Seed. It's people like no one knows. Whoever it is, though, they're well versed in philosophy.
Mm. What up, Low?
What's up?
A real mystery what happened.
Wait, doesn't Callum do hangouts today or something like that?
Hey, Wolf, these are the two guys. Khalif was
Hey,
saying.
Khalifi.
Yeah. Go ahead. What were you saying to Low Khalifi?
Yeah, Lo, he's the one who posted in the text that the Ethiopians created the story about Solomon and Sheba, and that Christianity is not for Africans, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Wow.
that's I mean that's two counts of conspiracy theory in my book.
What's a conspiracy? Because we use words that. What is
Well,
conspiracy?
the one is a conspiracy because he's claiming that the Ethiopians lied and created a story to rewrite themselves into biblical and Christian history and Jewish history, right?
Yeah.
So that would technically, well, that would be an actual conspiracy.
Nice, but you still all right. Next.
I mean, what would be the reason? Hold on, I got a question. What would be the reason for making up the story that like there was a Jewish king that went to Ethiopia and had sex?
No, well, that's what Lowe's saying. Because
I mean,
basically,
no. I'm saying what would be the reason for that? Like, why?
well, that's what I'm saying. I'm asking him. He's the one making the claim that the Ethiopians made it up.
I got
now
you.
he has to back up that claim because that's a claim of conspiracy, and
Let me answer your question. I want to ask. All right, one. I said that they made it up because the primary text that you would get the story of Solomon and Sheba from, the interaction, don't say that or allude to them having a child, having sex, anything like that. Now, so that's to answer the question because the primary text doesn't say it. Now, when I said the Ethiopians made it up, the reason I said they made it up was because of, I would like to ask you, because you seem to be more versed or appear to be more versed on Ethiopian Christianity history. So I'm going to ask you, what's the oldest story that referenced Sheba and Solomon having sex and producing a child? I think Makeda.
But didn't they find the Solomon's mines in Ethiopia and like around stretching all the way to the Middle East?
They found SLM. That's Shalom. I mean, what they slow mo or Shalomo. They
Shalom.
that, but that's not Solomon. That was whenever Christians see anything that looked like it may verify what they say, they jump for joy, and then they automatically jump conclusions. But the research on that wasn't Solomon's mind. Just like they found in I think like in Syria, they found temples that meet the description of what Solomon's temple was, but it wasn't nor near where they claimed it was in the narrative. So just because
the text you're asking for is the Kebra Nagast, the
okay,
law of the
what
king.
year was that created? When was that created?
There's some disputation about that.
Okay,
because
what's the consensus?
Well, the scholarly consensus on that is that the original source is an Ethiopian source, but the text which is widely circulated today was found in Egypt and was circulated primarily by Egyptians. and like that's the translation that Wallace Budge put out. So
written keeping the gas date to the 14th century.
No, but I'm saying to you that it's an Ethiopian story and the source is Ethiopian, but the primary texts for that are Egyptian.
Okay, what name the text, the primary text for it? Name the text so that we have a reference point instead of like you speaking in terms. The text is Egyptian.
No,
what Egyptian? What is it written? Is it written in Herogliphics?
No, because look, you're claiming to know any about African and African tradition, then you would be privy to the fact that a lot of African traditions were oral traditions.
Okay, what I said was this: prior to fermenters coming into Ethiopia and basically converting King and Zana, Ethiopians weren't Christians. They weren't talking about Christianity.
No, wait a second. Now this is what I mean. Is this is why we have to be clear, like what constitutes a valid source. Because if you're only going to consider the today's Western standard of text,
I'll take your word for it. But the thing
no, wait a second. Stop. Wait a second.
Okay, hang on. I actually got to step in.
New points. Stop introducing new points. Let's stick on one point. I'm saying to you that what is our standard for a proof? Are we only going to go by today's standard, or are we going to allow the standards that were viable in the time that the things happened?
I think it's best. I think it's best to look at. I think it's best to look at like the best scientific evidence that we have to look at. So we're discussing we're discussing is there evidence that there were there's like an Ethiopian Jewish line, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, my question right now is this: the story of Solomon and Sheba. That story specifically, century, keeping the gas. Can you show me any other text that alludes to that union? I don't care where it's from, how old it is. Just give me a text or a point of reference or somebody hitting at it prior to that.
But wait
now I think about it carefully. In the Bible, it doesn't actually say that they had children. It just says that she gifted him with gold.
Oh, but
something they met.
That's it. But I haven't appealed to the Bible yet, have I? So that's not irrelevant. What I'm saying to the brother is, are we only going to accept? Because as you know, for example, the earliest gospel.
See, I hate to cut you off, but I think I understand what you're saying. But the reason I brought that point up, right, about science is that I don't know about that story in particular, but because I'm not really a Bible believer, but they have genetics. You know, there's been genetic studies done on the Beta Israel Jews, the Ethiopian Jews, and it shows that they do have like connections to Jewish links. So,
well,
I know
you got to be.
But wait a second. This one I'm saying. Let me finish.
Oh, go
do you get what I'm saying? There's multiple streams of evidence. I'm asking the brother if his only standard of evidence is the text. That's all I'm asking him. Because what I want you to understand is, for example, we have texts of the Bible and the Quran, let's say, or whatever. But we don't have the original texts, do we? All we have is copies of what we believe was originally written. Is that not correct?
Yeah.
So when you're now saying that the earliest text we have of the Kebra Nagast is Egyptian, and when I agree with you, that's the one most widely circulated, that story could have been made up and invented there in the 14th century, or it could be based on earlier accounts. Is that not correct?
Okay, yeah, but that's speculative. We're going with the evidence. That's what I'm saying. Like, let's say it is possible that it could be based on earlier text. That's very possible. I have no problem with admitting that, but that's not a fact. And so you're saying now at this point it's like we had to stand off on opinion, and that's weird to me.
No, I'm saying that brother said, for example, there are other evidence. For example, there are archaeological ruins of Jewish temples which date to before the time of Christianity in Ethiopia. There are also rituals today which are only practiced in Ethiopia that have their origin in ancient Israelite worship. And also, the Ethiopians are the custodians of the Ark of the Covenant and the tablets of Beta Israel, which is referenced in the Keber and Agast. There's a bloodline, there's a history which attests to the story. It's not just the book and a text. There's actually underground things that attest to the truth of the story. You know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying. The more evidence you present, the more I know that you going based on your belief and not on fact. Because even with the
more evidence,
I got you.
The more evidence I produce is more evidence of belief.
Yeah, because you're not actually producing evidence. You saying we got the you brought up the Ark of Covenant, right? And if I ever quote you wrong or misquote you, please correct me immediately. Because I would hate to do that. That's the sign of disrespect, and I don't want to do that. All right, when you said the Ark of Covenant, I can't remember the name of the author. I could pull up if you want me to. But it was a dude who actually went and looked at it. He said it was empty. The Ark of Covenant y'all claim to have access to, y'all won't allow anyone to scrutinize it to even see if it's legitimate. Anyone, like, there's a lot of people who create like the Shroud of Turin and things of that nature. They create things like that, and then they'll push it off and saying this is authentic. And then when it's tested, it falls miserably. A lot of the stuff that quote unquote Ethiopia has that claiming what that you claiming hasn't been tested. And that's why I'm asking you about the stuff that we can prove. That's not something that, oh, we got this, but you won't let nobody see it. It's like me holding something behind my back saying, oh, I got this, but you can't see it ever. And
Yeah,
then when the temple,
see what you've just said, because you've just referenced Dr. Graham Hancock, who's a scholar, right? So he, in his scholarly opinion, as a researcher, has tried to trace the location of the Ark of the Covenant, and his conclusion is, based on his study, that it's in Ethiopia. Secondly, we are an Old Testament. We're the only church that outside of Jerusalem, technically, who has the Old and the New Testament tradition.
Mm-hmm.
The other churches are New Testament churches. We are grounded in the Old Testament. We hold the Ark of the Covenant with the same respect as it was given in the time of Moses. So just because in your modern standard, evidence has to be produced in such a way that pleases the new methods, which, you know, respect is due to those methods because they are higher standards of evidence. But there was a way of doing things that didn't involve putting everything on the table. So you can't say that just because Ethiopia doesn't put everything out there and the holy things and put them on show like everyone else does, that it must therefore be false. But because you're working on today's standard that everyone has to put everything out there in the Facebook generation, you're not respecting the old way.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it must be false. What I'm saying is that there's not enough evidence to come to a conclusion whether it's valid or false because
either way. Thank you. Either way.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, there's no evidence to conclude either way. So therefore, it's not right for you to say that because they don't honor today's method is false. And as the brother said, there are genetics. There's an actual people who've traced their genetics back to that initial mixing between Ethiopia and Israel. So are those people fraudulent then, in your opinion? Those actual people who have been tested?
I'm gonna give you actually DNA and all that stuff you're talking about right now. I'm gonna give you the evidence that typically when you find people talking about they tracing their DNA to prove that they Jews and all that stuff, what you realize is this: typically it's Jews that's doing the test. When non-biased parties do the test, they come to the same conclusion. First of all, you can't really, they've come to the same conclusion every time. You can't actually use DNA to tell who's a Jew because there's no actual marker from the people who we claim are the Jews to actually determine. Like, you don't have a something from Abraham, Jacob, or Isaac. And those would be the foremost Jews the foremost Jews of antiquity that you would then test on, even their descendants, that one can verifiably say these are the descendants. What you have today is a lot of speculative reasoning, and so what we did is this: what most Jews do, they take a group of Asiatics, white Asiatics, and then what they do is then they say, okay, all of them got this marker. Can we find this marker anywhere else? And then when they do, they jump for joy and saying, see, they Jews too. They Jews too. It's they calling everybody Jews who actually claiming to be Jew, including the black. And it's a great book called, I'm gonna make a suggestion to all y'all. There's a great book called The Invention of the Jewish People. If you go to the end of the book, I'm gonna give you the page. It actually references a lot of or you go to NCBI, just enter in. That's something I use when I want primary scientific research. NCBI.com. You can get primary scientific, all the latest evidence when you talk about genetics and Jews. Matter of fact, I feel like something gonna come up with this later, so I'm gonna hold this for later on in our conversation. But we can keep talking for now. But I can tell you right now, the DNA argument. Matter of fact, go to page 319 of 318 and 319 of Shlomo Sand's the Invention of the Jewish People. And it states, after exhausting all historical arguments, several critics have seized on genetics. The same people who maintain that the Zionists never referred to a race conclude their argument by evoking a common Jewish gene. Their thinking can be summed up as follows: we are not a pure race, but we are a race just the same. In the 1950s, there was research in Israel on characteristic Jewish fingerprints, and from the 1970s, biologists in their laboratories, sometimes also in the USA, a genetic marker common to all Jews. I reviewed in my book their lack of data, the frequent slipperiness of their conclusion, and their ethno-nationalist ardor.
Yeah, but wait a second, brother.
Hold on. Can I ask a question real quick?
I'll let y'all speak. Please do me the same.
Wait. No, but
unsupported by any serious scientific findings, this attempt to justify Zionism through genetics is reminiscent of the procedure of late 19th century anthropologists who very scientifically set out to discover the specific characteristics of Europeans. If you want me to provide you with primary scientific data from actually, I'll say 5 years ago, 8 years ago even, to show that whole DNA Jew thing, that's a load of crap, and it's really the Jews way, the white Jews way of trying to find themselves, trying to. That's the race theory.
Kelsey, can you mute when you're on silent, because you have a lot of background noise. It's hard to hear what he was saying.
What's up?
No, I was asking the other guy. Is it Keful? When you're waiting to speak, can you mute, because you have some background noise? It's hard to hear Lowe's.
Cool. All right. Cool. What I'm saying to you, Lo, you see now you've just jumped to a completely different subject there. You're referencing the Zionist movement and the modern coming together of the Jewish people. Completely different subject. What we're talking about is that there's a text which claims that the Queen of Sheba and the Queen of Ethiopia and the King of Israel had a child and basically intertwined the nations, which is found, which basically shared the religion, the culture, and the genetics. What you've just referenced there has nothing to do with that question. What I'm asking you is, wait a second.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
This is what I'm asking you about primary sources, because you've got a whole people there in 2017 in Ethiopia telling you today our origin is that relationship between the Queen of Sheba and the King of Israel, King Solomon. Now, you're telling those people that they don't know what they're talking about. But you get me? That's a long tradition. Like I said, there's Jewish temples. Those people are worshipping in the way of Israel. So it's not just basically a book that you've got. You've actually got living manifestations of the story. So basically, you're gonna have to dismiss all the evidence, and you're basically holding to your conspiracy theory that those people are making it up. Basically, now to me, if a man says now he's an African Ethiopian ancient nation, and he's telling you that we in ancient times, this is what happened, this is who we are, and you're telling him that he don't know what he's talking about, innit? Basically.
Well, hold on. One thing I wanted to address just quickly before we move on to another point. I wanted to address this argument about the genetic Jew, if that's. I feel bad for saying it that way, but it seems like, Lo, was your explanation saying that there's really no way to genetically tell the Jewish race or the Jewish ethnic group from other human beings or other Caucasian human beings?
Yes.
Because, then you would have to, how would you account for something like Tay-Sachs disease, which is a predominantly Jewish disease, and also other genetic markers? Like, there are genetic markers that can be found only in, let's say, for instance, people of Jewish ancestry. For instance, Tay-Sachs disease is one of the most prevalent, where it's something that only is prevalent within the Jewish culture, and that's something that, and there are other genetic markers where you can tell one's Jewish or not Jewish based on, mutation rates and things of that nature. So science can point. I do agree that they may not be able to point to Abraham, but they can point to within genetics for Jewish ethnic group, just like they can do it for, let's say, the European ethnic group. So I don't know if that's what are you saying that that's not true?
Yes, and I'll tell you why I'm saying that, and I can provide again primary scientific evidence that you guys can scrutinize firsthand. What I'm going to do is this: I'll put a series of links. I'll try to make sure each article is at least within 15 years. The latest will be 15 years. That's my cutoff marker, and then the earliest will be most recent would be, I'll say, I'm going to try to get to at least 2012 with some of the evidence referring to genetic markers and the inability to actually link link a gene with the Jewish people. That's one.
Don't you? But you would agree that Tay-Sachs, for instance, is a disease that only affects people of Jewish descent. It's a flaw within the genes, and you can test for that. People, if African Americans don't and white people don't get that particular genetic deformity.
But those two, just because African Americans and white people don't get those things doesn't mean it's Jews exclusively, because guess what? You still get the same, you can find that same disease within people will call themselves descendants of not Jacob, but descendants of Ishmael, Isaac's brother, I forget his name. So like that's the thing. What you're doing, and that's based on the region they're in. That's based on the region they're in, which is not referencing the Canaan region, because you have indigenous black Canaanites who live there to the day, and what you call Israel who lived in that region today, who's always lived there, and they don't have those markers. So now you have the question to ask yourself now: what made these people that you're testing their DNA? What gave them the authority over the lineage that you're even claiming? That's the whole thing.
Well, I don't want to get to the authority bit of it.
Please let me address because it's something that keep being repeated, but I want to make sure I address it, and then I'll
You're making a lot of points, bro. You're making a lot of points.
Yeah, because just the point I want to just make before we even move on from this genetics issue is that I think you've actually agreed with my point, because you said that, for instance, when Abraham had his two sons, Esau and I forget the other one's name, and even the Arabs say that's his father, and you agree that there are some people who are coming out of that culture who have these same genetic markers. They may be Arab or Jewish descent. And if you agree with that, then that actually even more so confirms the biblical account of this genetic abnormality coming from one particular source. Now, I do not know that for a fact, but I just disagree with the point that
Okay, I want to.
that the genes clearly show. You can tell genetically someone who is of the Jewish descent from someone who is Caucasian, someone who is African, someone just like you can tell someone's Asian. And by having specialized diseases and genetic deformities for those particular ethnic groups, even also more so confirms the fact that this is a separate group that can be identified genetically. And I think, you know, I don't know what you're going to put forth, but I think just, you know, scientifically, I think you're incorrect.
All right. No, it's okay. No,
Well,
listen,
I just want to know out of interest, how many scholars are you quoting? How many scholars are you relying on to? Whose opinion is that? No, is that 10 scholars who have that opinion, or one?
Yeah. Yes. I can verifiably say out of the sources I'll give you at least five different sources, minimum. I can, if you want me to reach for 8, I can even get 8. Going like 8 and 10, it requires me to go back towards like the 1960s, 1970s. So I usually try to old research.
Wait a second.
So I want
So that's 5.
Hold on. Keith, can you please mute, because it's very hard to hear what he's saying, and I'm trying to really understand what he's saying. So when he's speaking, can you just please mute your mic, because you have a lot of background noise when he's speaking, and it's hard to hear him. Can you please set it again low, because I'm trying to get your point. I'm sorry.
I can pull up dozens of references if you like, but the more references I pull up, it goes older. I can guarantee 8 references within the last 10 years. I can even if you want me to go further back, I can go to at least 15. The most of the early work on genetics that was basically marking out a Semitic gene or a Jewish gene, that was basically done by Zionist Jews, typically in the newly founded Israel, or in the Americas, and certain regions in the Americas, but they are all connected to the same people. That's one. So they had a motive to misrepresent information, and then when other scientists actually critiqued their work, they saw a great deal of irregularities and misrepresentation of information. One of the people I reference, actually Shlomo Sands, he's actually a Jew. I usually don't care whether they're a Jew or not as far as scholarship, because I really try to make sure it's good scholarship. I critique my work. I don't agree with any scholar I read 100%. I critique the work. And when I disagree with people, I'm qualified to disagree with them on the stuff I disagree. If I'm not qualified, I speak to someone who is, or I make myself qualified to. Now, when in regards to the Abraham and the Isaac, the Abraham's Isaac, and Isaac, Jacob, and what's his son? I keep forgetting it.
Ishmael.
Oh, thank you, Ishmael. When you talk about those genes, when we talk about the Arabs, this is the problem when you're talking about their genes match the Jewish genes. The people the people that we're calling Arabs, you have to talk about which period. You're talking about the Ottoman Turk Arabs. You're talking about the like which period of Arabs are you talking about? It's very rare that people go to the indigenous people and then test their markers. They test these invaders who come into these regions, who take on the identities of these groups. This is what it is, which is a bad way to do science. And this is one of the problems that scientists had when they were looking at this, because most of the people they were testing were either they typically came from the same region originally, which had nothing to do with the Canaanite region, or they were wherever they were invaders. They were never native there, and the marker that was there that people keep bringing up. And I have no, like I said, if you like, we could do this on a formal arena, and I can bring all the primary evidence. I have no problem with that, because it's fun. This is fun to me. Information is fun. I have no problem with that. But what I'm hearing a lot of this, whenever people keep saying they have information, they have facts, and then you'll make statements like, well, you're gonna tell all these people that they're not this. That's exactly what I'll do, because it wasn't uncommon when invaders want to basically change the religion of people. First thing they'll do is attack the ruler. Once you get the ruler to convert, it's not uncommon that the whole kingdom actually converts. The prime example is what happened with the Khazarians. And I'm not saying that the modern Jews are Khazars. I actually don't rock with that theory. But the Khazars are a prime example. They, at a certain point in history, everybody wasn't screaming it was Jew. What people doing is we taking these personal, we making facts personal, and we start misrepresenting facts. I got proof that I make a statement. King and Zana Ethiopia didn't see Christianity before they before you had the Jew, before you had Frumentius, who was a Syrian, who went into the Alexandrian church and they spread it down to throughout all of Asia. They spread it from India to Ethiopia. They spread Christianity through those regions. Frumentius' brother and the Alexandrian church was the key force behind that.
That's just a monologue, bro. That's what I'm trying. That's a monologue.
So you're saying that's not verifiable?
But I'm saying that you're making a whole load of arguments, and I mean it's got a lot of holes in it. I'm saying that your research does not match your conclusion. That's my whole point from the beginning.
Have I
Is
said?
that
Have I
no?
said
But you
that was
you're
unverifiable?
no. Yeah, but listen, whether or not you've read books with scholars who claim that their studies, they their inference from their studies is that it's impossible to find a link going back to the original patriarch Abraham. As the brother said, it doesn't necessarily have to go back to Abraham himself, but it just shows, as he said, that every culture, every race has genetic markers, and and it's sufficient to just show that they have certain genetic markers by which we can identify them. If the Ethiopian Jews, the Beta Israel, can also show that they have the same markers, that's one proof. Now, secondly, it's questionable anyway. It's questionable whether or not your scholars are more reliable than the Jewish scholars, the Zionist scholars, who you have tried to condemn as you know again involved in some type of conspiracy, skewing their evidence. Why are your scholars more credible than the Israeli scholars? Right? There's also there are people also history has shown us that there are people who are basically going to undermine everything that Jewish scholars come out with, claiming that it's dishonest in some way. So